Fun days and nights in London town. Pedicabs riding around and around. Pedicabs, a new and welcome emission-free solution to London's transport problems.
Or a money-making racket which fleeces tourists, rips off its own riders and lines the pockets of its operators. At first sight, casual observers would be forgiven for accepting the hype of one leading pedicab company that it's a non-profit-making organisation which is committed to cutting down harmful emissions. The Licensed Taxi Drivers Association decided to put this and other claims of the pedicab operators to the test. Pedicabs, or rickshaws as they're commonly referred to, are only free to trade in our metropolis due to a loophole in the legal system which never envisaged that a world-class city such as London would fall victim to this third world rickshaw virus. In reality, the pedicab industry is dominated by a handful of operators who charge foreign students and the like exorbitant rents to hire their rickshaws.
I work for two different companies. They both charge £85 a week to use the rickshaw, or it's £240 a month. One of my friends pays £100 a week, but if you only want one day, it's just £35. I don't know any English riders. We're all from Eastern Europe or South America, and there's a lot of Spanish students. I like riding a lot, but it's not a job for life, just a fun way of earning cash. There's not much work during the day, so I go out at night when it's easier and people are happy. They've had a drink and you don't get problems so much. The bosses told me I must charge separate fares for each person, but there's no limit. And you can charge as much as you can. There's not so many passengers, so you have to charge high to cover the rent. Some of the riders from Colombia try to undercut, but there's no real trouble, and we try to work together. It's not an easy job, because the bikes are very heavy and you must take shortcuts. You know, in Soho, up one ways, because it's too tiring. You can turn right from Strand onto Waterloo Bridge because it's a kilometre around Aldwych. One boss told me he didn't make a profit, but his bikes were out all the time. My friend is still waiting to work for him. We all pay cash, but it's okay. It's good, and we don't need receipts. I really like the job. It's good for me, and they say we'll soon get a badge.
If you know central London, you'll have seen many pedicabs just waiting or pedalling around empty. Have you noticed how many of them are plastered with advertising? There's a simple explanation. One company charges £180 a week to advertise on each of its pedicabs, but they do offer a discounted rate. Yes, a 20-bike, 12-week campaign costs just £29,000. Yet these companies confidently expect the public and possible regulators to believe that their primary objective is to provide London with an environmentally friendly transport system. They would have us believe that their so-called emission-free pedicabs are effectively replacing buses, taxis and private cars. Investigations have revealed that virtually all pedicab journeys are simply opportunistic, spur-of-the-moment hirings, usually less than half a mile and many just a few hundred yards.
It's really quite expensive. I mean, we could have walked that kind of distance, so, you know, for nothing. Even a cab, I think, would have been cheaper than that.
Piccadilly Circus to Trafalgar Square, Leicester Square to Covent Garden are typical trips. All these pedicab journeys are simply an alternative to walking. The environment-friendly claim just doesn't stand up to scrutiny. In fact, most pedicab activity damages the environment by obstructing footways and narrow roads as the riders jostle for the best pitch, or create an even more serious hazard by forming rings of steel around leading theatres, displaying a total disregard for fire access and safety regulations. The situation which arises every night outside the Lyceum Theatre is nothing short of criminal. Because the public demand for pedicab services is very low, the drivers spend the majority of their time simply waiting around empty. When they do find a fare, it's simply a matter of charging as much as they can get in order to cover the high rental and make a profit. Incredibly, many fares work out at a rate between £20 and £70 a mile. Hardly a challenge to buses and taxis.
Where did you come from?
Piccadilly Circus we came from. To Dominion Theatre.
And how much did that cost you?
15 quid. £5 each.
I thought it was quite steep.
That's quite a lot of money. What did you think?
Well, considering it was, we could have walked it. I mean, £5 per person was a bit steep.
Definitely. Would you do it again?
No, it was quite scary to tell you the truth.
Do you think it's a good advert for tourism in London?
No, it's a rip-off really. It's too expensive. I mean, travellers usually watching their money and like to do exciting things, and it's just too expensive.
But £27 a mile is a bargain compared to some rides.
We come from Covent Garden and we came to the Waldorf Hotel.
And how much did that cost?
£4 per person, so I paid £12.
Do you think it was expensive?
Yes.
At £72 a mile, expensive is an understatement. Legally, pedicabs are classed as cycles and have access to bus lanes, but their abuse of this privilege is not welcomed by London's bus drivers.
They do get in the way, they cut you up, and they're dead slow. They hold up all the traffic, and they hold up the bus. You could be trapped for 15 minutes. Really? And they're just pedaling away like they don't care.
My opinion, for the safety of the public, they should be withdrawn from the road. Yes, it's very dangerous because the public, the majority of them just jump out without any precaution and jump off the same, hop off, hop on.
Because I've seen them with kids at the back, and sometimes they sort of quickly come out without looking when they sort of come out, and after I said, that's a bit,
They're just annoying when you get stuck behind them, that's all.
I've been working here 5 months, so they've been getting in my way for 5 months.
Jesus.
It's mainly in the evening time. You find a lot down Regent Street. And they just park up in the bus lane. There's about a dozen of them in the evening time. You just got to avoid them. Get rid of them, what's the point? I mean, this isn't a country to have rickshaws, is it? I mean, go to India or somewhere where there's rickshaws.
Pedicab activities predominate mainly in the West End area of central London. How do the representatives of the local community react to the pedicab problem?
I think they're a complete rip-off for tourists alike. I mean, they park in areas where emergency vehicles need to have access. They block roads for ordinary taxis to get through, particularly Lyle Street locally here, Coventry Street. And they congregate on the end of sort of pavings which cause pedestrian access problems. I think the rickshaws are just out for a fast buck. Certainly from what I see, anecdotally from what I see personally, they seem to be operated by young men mainly who maybe like tourist, backpacker type people who are here for a very short time and really don't have a care. I think that unfortunately there appears to be a loophole in the law which has been opened up, and I think that the legislature should look at it very closely before we have a terrible accident. Public safety is paramount. There is absolutely no passenger safety involved in one of those. I suppose we're all now waiting for a disaster when a lorry or a bus goes over one and we lose some people before it's taken seriously.
I call them pedilos, I don't know why I do. They're very dangerous, they're unlicensed, and they're exceedingly expensive. And they're becoming a complete nightmare in the area. But I did witness the most extraordinary situation in which I saw some Americans getting into one outside the tube on Longacre and go up Longacre, turn left down Endell Street and left down Shelton Street. Meanwhile, I had walked directly there through Neal Street. I was walking parallel with them, yes. When I get to the end of Neal Street, they are getting out of their pedalo. And the American wife said to the American husband, "Gee, honey, that was good. How much did it cost?" And he said, "Oh, only £20. Now, they went less than half the diameter of Buckingham Palace. And I think it's a horrible concept that foreigners, or people, from foreign lands, come here and get into a pedalo, go probably 400 yards and pay 20 quid. It's a rip-off, and it's got to be resolved.
What kind of concerns do the people raise when they come to you?
It obviously differs between the residents and the businesses. The residents are concerned about obstruction. Generally, they can't drive around. The businesses are concerned about deliveries. They can't get in. So it differs between the two. But really, it focuses on the fact that they do seem to flout the law regarding, traffic signs, no entry signs, one-way streets. So it's just a concern that they are just flouting the law generally.
Are you concerned about the risk to pedestrians?
That goes hand in hand with the risks around blockage of the carriageway, blockage of the footways, and the risk to pedestrians of any cyclists on the footway, any cyclists flouting one-way streets and no entry signs. So that is a concern, yes.
So what should be done to protect the public and plug the pedicab legal loophole? Clearly, the status quo is not an option. At first sight, regulation may appear to be the answer, but regulation cannot be legally used to control the rip-off pedicab fares. Riding pedicabs is a short-term, transient, part-time occupation with no professional commitment. The threat of licence suspension is no threat. Most importantly, an acceptable level of vehicle safety for fare-paying passengers cannot be achieved within the existing inherently dangerous pedicab design. Unfortunately, road accidents do occur. In the case of public service vehicles, including licensed buses and licensed taxis, the vehicles are designed to a standard which provides an acceptable degree of safety in the event that a fare-paying passenger is involved in a collision. The Licensed Taxi Drivers Association commissioned the Transport Research Laboratory to test the most commonly used model of pedicab and report on the level of passenger safety provided. The laboratory discovered that the braking performance of the pedicab was
significantly lower than that of a car,
and that the passenger compartment provided
little or no protection in the event of almost any accident.
In summary, does the pedicab trade really provide a constructive and meaningful contribution to our capital's integrated public transport service? Or is it in the main just another black economy activity which profits from its own riders, forcing them to extract exorbitant fares from the few passengers whose spur-of-the-moment decision to hire a pedicab may ultimately result in costly tragedy? Is regulation the answer? No. New regulations cannot improve the inherently flawed design of these dangerous rickshaws, and regulators should not allow themselves to be hoodwinked into providing a cloak of respectability for this expensive and potentially life-threatening service. The Transport Research Laboratory referred to
poor brakes and no protection.
What did they really mean? Ban. Don't license.